Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode. My name is Jackie and I'll be your host for today.
My name is Ivan.
And I'm Jack.
So today we have a fun special episode all about our three colleges and as we've just moved into universities this past week. So first of all, could you guys all give an introduction to your schools and then tell us how your past week has been? I mean, I know everyone's orientation was probably a little different. Like, walk us through that.
Yeah, I can start. So, going to UC Berkeley. I'm the only person in this podcast who's not in the East Coast. Uh, and Orientation for me started last week. Oh, 2 weeks ago now. But we recently started classes last week. And it's been it's been quite the ride so far.
Yeah, Ivan said that my school's on the East Coast. My school's really not on the East Coast, but rather say East Region. Let's put it that way. So I'm currently a freshman at the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor, and I'm with the Ross Business. I'm studying under the Ross Business School, and we didn't really have an orientation that's for general freshmen for UMich, but I know for Ross kids, we had like a separate orientation that just introduced us to some of the resources like a leadership challenge or like I guess like an entrepreneurship institute where you can learn more about accounting and finance. But we also had a fun like networking day where we could pretty much meet our entire class. So like a bunch of us that we met online started to know each other in person, so that was really nice. And then as of when I moved in like 1.5 weeks ago, like that first week, it's called Welcome Week. That's where you get to meet new people, settle in, and do your move-in. But also it's a week that all the frats open up and like invite you to like parties and stuff. So that's definitely a big thing that we'll talk about later. And I did eventually go to a bunch of these like frat parties just to get a sense of what it is like there, and I thought they were pretty fun. So overall, my first week has been pretty fun. And when classes started, I got kind of sort of got used to a little bit of the work hard, play hard culture, but I like it here and I've definitely enjoyed my time here at Ann Arbor.
Oh wow, okay, so I just had my orientation. Um, and it was fun. So I'm in New York, Columbia, and Kyle's not here, but he's at NYU. So like the same city. And then we have a few like overlapping friends. So I know that at their school, like some of them went to like the US Open and like just fun things around the city. And yeah, like I think I've had a lot of fun at orientation. But you guys said that you started classes already. We don't start until tomorrow. How are classes?
Yeah, so I'm Cape, UC Berkeley, big public school. I think Jack, same thing, big public school. But most of my classes are the general education, so Gen Chem lab, math, big, huge classes, like hundreds of kids. If you go 2 minutes, 2 minutes later, can't find a seat, kind of that type of classes. But big classes, you get to meet new people every time. Like I think my smallest class is around 30, 40 people. But if you're in a big class, it's pretty hard to get to know the professor. That's why you typically also have discussion sections, especially with the big classes where you split up into smaller groups with your GSI or graduate student instructor. And then they are really super helpful. And the discussion group is significantly smaller, and you really do learn a lot in discussion sections, but also in the lectures, right? The professors, they try to accommodate, knowing that they have this many students, so they do some accommodations um, to kind of help do the best for most students in the class. Yeah.
Yeah, so just like Ivan, I'm starting to get some of my gen eds done with my classes. So I'm taking a Ross required class and econ, which is also required for Ross, but I'm also taking an intro CS class and some more stats class because I do plan on maybe adding a double major or a minor in like data science or something like that. And I feel like and my smallest class is the business class that we have required, which is like around like 50 or to 60 like students, and it is very interactive. So they have like popsicle sticks where they can just randomly call on people during discussions and stuff. So it's just really it just shows like the involvement of like Ross. They're trying to get you to get involved in the class. They grade your participation pretty highly, so definitely need to definitely will need to prepare for that class. If you're not prepared, it kind of does show. And just like Ivan said, the other classes I have are pretty big classes. And for some of them, I already know people in them, but for other classes, I really don't. But again, as Ivan mentioned, also there's like discussion sections and laboratory sections for some of the more STEM-based classes. And for us, they're also led by GSI, and they're really helpful. They like help you guide through the content. They give you a lot of practice exercises, and you really get to, and you also get to like know like a more like tightly knit community based off of those like small discussion sessions. So like I guess we could say an example, like my econ class is like 370 people in like one lecture hall, but then the discussion sections are around like 30 to 40 people. And so you just get to know, you can get to work with the people that are in your discussion section, and you can really just help each other out. And I think this is really helpful moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting to hear like the different perspectives. I go to, I guess, Columbia, like a smaller school compared to yours, and it's private. So like my smallest class is like 14 people, and I have two of those classes. So I'm very much looking forward to those, actually getting to know the professor and everyone in it. And then also because it's so small, like participation is like super important, and it's also like super easy to see like who's not participating when there's only like 14 people in the class. Um, and they're very strict about like 14 people, like you just can't go over that limit. So there's like different professors for all the different sections. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the dorms. I'm in my dorm right now, and I'd show you, but I don't really know how to turn this computer around. So how are your dorm rooms and your dorming situation?
Yeah, so actually, I don't live in the dorms for UC Berkeley. I decided after a series of deliberations to rent an apartment next to campus. But I've been inside the UC Berkeley dorms quite a few times, and I would say that UC Berkeley has a really unique housing situation because all the dorms are technically off campus. And so, you know, if you're lucky to draw, if you say perchance go to this dorm called Blackwell, which is the closest to campus, you'll be pretty lucky, right? But there's also other dorms that are further, such as like Clark Kerr or Foothill. And if you walk, you have to probably walk 10, 20 minutes to campus. So that's why, you know, pros and pros and cons, and I decided to rent an apartment next to campus. And the dorming situation is pretty crazy as well at UC Berkeley. So, you know, that's why I chose to rent.
Yeah, definitely. I'd probably argue that the dorm situation is probably crazier at UMich. If it's definitely very crazy, and I definitely would say that I got lucky that I got picked with one of the best dorms on campus at West Quad. But also that did come with a little bit of luck because I was initially placed in a little bit worse dorm called Markley, and that one didn't have AC and was known for having musty hallways, was known for having cockroaches and bats, and known for the bathroom drains not working. So definitely got very lucky. I'm very happy with my dorm at West Quad. We have AC. There's a lot of people here, but also like you have to weigh the pros and cons of like when I was making my decision with Markley and West Quad, like I was deciding like because if I did move from Markley to West Quad, I'd also be leaving my first roommate. So now I have a different roommate at West Quad. But also, I did hear that Markley was among the most social dorm on campus, so that was definitely another thing to consider. And I can definitely feel, based off of experience from going to both on campus, that Markley is definitely more social than West Quad. Also, West Quad for us didn't does not have a dining hall, so we had to go to nearby South Quad, which is pretty close. It's just like a walk. It's just like cross the road away and you'll be there. So I think my living situation is really nice with West Quad, but that's only part of the story of the dorm situation that you miss. So let me elaborate a little bit more on that. So it just happens that UMich has two different campuses. One of them is called Central Campus, and that's where all my classes are, and that's where a lot of the different schools are. So like the the LSA, Ross, School of Kinesiology, but also there's a North Campus that houses the school, the music school, and more importantly, the engineering students. And North Campus actually has two different dorms, notably known as Bursley and Bates, and both of them are non-AC dorms. And if you do get placed in one of those dorms, well, you hope that you have a lot of engineering or music classes there, because if you don't, the bus ride to Central Campus is 10 minutes long without traffic. And I say without traffic because when I tried to go to North Campus for an activity, the bus ride was actually 30 to 40 minutes. So you just better hope that if you're on North Campus, like hopefully the busing situation will be okay. But again, it's by luck. Also, like I want to touch on like another sector, which is like Hill Campus. It's also pretty far from like I guess like Central, like say like half a mile or a mile away. But some of the dorms there are pretty nice, like Alice Lloyd and Masha Jordan, which in my opinion, Mojo has the best dining hall on campus. So definitely, if you're a student here, please check it out. But then there's Markley, which is known for being notoriously bad, but also being very social. So just looking at the dynamics between the different dorms situation at UMich, it's really crazy. And I always look forward to seeing like snap stories about, oh, there's this animal at Markley or something like that, or oh, the fire alarm went off at 2:30 a.m. in West Quad, which actually did happen yesterday. So I had to get out of sleep and go outside for safety. But like in general, just saying, UMich's dorm situation is pretty crazy, and I lucked out.
Yeah, it sounds sounds like a lot. I mean, for Columbia, we for underclassmen, or I guess just like freshmen, we have five freshman dorms. They're all like pretty on campus, and I feel like because we're in the city, so like our campus itself is pretty small. Like we're not like bus riding 10 minutes away. I think like in China campus, I could walk it in 10 minutes. So it's really not that bad. It's like the upperclassmen dorms that are like a little bit further, but ours is pretty good. Um, yeah, and then I think most of our dorms have AC, which is really good, except apparently like it's only really helpful like the first like few weeks because up in New York it's like a little bit colder. I mean I'm sure Michigan's like that too. Um, but yeah, I mean it's been great. And yeah, so I mean the dorms so far so good. I don't know why I thought they'd be like a lot smaller. Um, but it's actually pretty good. So how do you guys get around campus and then the surrounding area? So like I said, Columbia itself is like pretty small. So like personally being like in Carmen, like the hall I'm in, we don't really need any buses or anything to get around because like our classes are like right there. But I mean the subway is pretty useful for getting around the city and just like anywhere we need to go that's not on campus.
Yeah, so I think Berkeley is, compared to UMich, considerably smaller, but also considered bigger than Columbia. So I think we're in that middle ground, where it's, you know, you could take the bus, but that would be the equivalent time, or if not longer, if you're just waiting for the bus to just walk to whatever class you have, right? So I think at Berkeley, it's kind of that we're kind of at that middle ground. It's like, oh, should I take the bus or should I walk? Because they're effectively the same time. So for me, I prefer to walk, because at Berkeley, the weather is really nice. The temperature is always 70s, low 80s, right? At this time, and then in the winter it'll be around like 70s still. Um, but so like we have a really nice climate, really sunny, always sunny. So I prefer to walk to kind of get in get in the exercise, get in the cardio, and get in the sunshine. Although sometimes I've got very close to being late because I'm walking across campus, which is like 10-15 minutes. But if you're living in one of the further dorms, you would probably have to take the bus because that's where, taking the bus and waiting for the bus would still be shorter than walking to campus. So the bus ride will be around 10 minutes to get to campus. There's typically no traffic. So, uh, but, the Berkeley does provide you free rides. So if you have the Clipper card, which is the public transport card, you can have free buses. You can ride on the buses for free, but you still have to pay for the BART, which is I think the subway equivalent here in the Bay Area. Um, but the BART runs along the East Bay, and it goes to San Francisco. So if you do want to go to San Francisco, if you do want to go to the South Bay, take the BART. But you do have to pay for that. It's relatively cheaper for students. But I think that's kind of the main ways to get around. Oh, and also probably some people choose to use electric scooters. Like one of my friends who lives in the further dorms, he has a scooter. But the difficult part is, keeping it secured on campus because it's notorious for people to literally cut through the bike lock to get the scooter, which I don't really understand. But scooters and bikes do get stolen a lot on campus and off campus because Berkeley is a city after all. And so just weighing the costs and benefits, you can do scooter, you can leave whenever you want, or you can take the bus, but you gotta wait for it to come, and it's usually not on time. So just weighing the costs and benefits, but we do have a lot of transportation options to campus and around the surrounding areas.
Yeah, I actually think UMich is so everyone considers UMich as a very big campus, but I also think it's like very walkable. Like a lot of people think that before coming here, they think, oh, we need a bike. Oh, I might even need a car depending on where I live. But I generally think that as long as if you're on Central or Hill campus for UMich, it's very walkable. Like I walk to like the Masha Jordan, Alice Lloyd, Markley area, pretty much every day or every 2 days. I don't think that's too much of a hassle, even though I know a lot of people there think that it is a hassle. So I think generally, I think a lot of people are getting used to walking around campus because not only does it just like it helps keep your body fit, like it helps with cardio, just like Ivan said, but but if you're on North Campus or on one of the athletic campuses, that's a whole different story. If you're on North Campuses, your best friend will be the Bursley/Bates bus, which will get you to the UMich Transit Center, which is like right in the middle of like Central Campus. So that's like really nice. From there, you can just probably rely on walking, and then for like the athletic campus is like where Michigan Stadium is. Most people would prefer to walk there, but I do think for some reason that it feels more tiring than the walk to like the Hill campus area, which doesn't really make intuitive sense because if you're walking up a hill towards Hill campus, it should be more tiring, right? But for some reason, I found walking to like the stadium area more tiring. So, but in general, most people do walk here. One of my friends did get a bike. The local bike shops here did hike up the costs of getting a bike just because they know that the demand here is really high. So I personally decided to refrain from getting a bike. But also like if you want to take a run around campus just to get your body fit, like that's also a really nice way to walk around campus as well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, our campus is pretty walkable. It's just what we have. Um, so what are sports like at your school? And like I know Jack, I've seen like a bunch of pictures about Michigan. I'm very, very jealous actually. Um, so I mean for us, like Columbia is not like a big sports school in general. I mean our football, like yeah, I mean it's there, but like it's not like super incredible. I mean go Columbia though. My roommate's an athlete too, so love her squash. But yeah, I mean, Columbia's fun. But we're just like, I don't think we're really known for being super sporty. What about you guys?
Yeah, so I think Cal is D1 apparently. But I don't know if we are that great at football as compared to UMich, which is such a powerhouse. But we can talk about the game that recently happened, right? But um, apart from that, I've seen statistics like to the Olympics. I think Cal was sent the second most athletes to Olympics, which is crazy to me. So Cal actually does have a really great sports culture. I think women's rowing is really good. Um, Other than that, I don't really know much about Cal sports. I need to like go to some events, but Cal football is, I think, decent. But the only thing I worry about is that we're better than Stanford. So that's the only thing I care about. But you know, Cal Sports is huge. We have a huge, recently we had a game against UC Davis, which we won. And the stadium I think was packed, and like it was watching sports, buying sports tickets. It's super popular, and it only would get popular against like the big game, which is against Stanford, which is going to be at Berkeley this year. So you know, there's some events that a lot of students choose to go to, and the sporting culture here is just, I think it's gonna keep on increasing.
Yeah, you mentioned the sports culture is already really big. I don't know if you guys can tell, but my voice is like kind of dead because on Saturday we had a football game. It was our first football game of the season. We played Fresno State and we were learning all the cheers. We were all cheering out loud, and as a result, like over the past 2 days, my voice has been dying. We did win that game against Fresno State 30-10, but I do concede that I don't think our team played very well, especially revolving around the quarterback because well. Put it this way, there's two quarterbacks in for UMich that are competing for the starting position. One of them was a former walk-on, and the other is a guy who's only known for running. So that's not very ideal for a quarterback situation. We do have a great tight end and a great defense, so I will say that we are particularly competitive. But it does feel good to be on a winning football team because in my 4 years of being at my high school, we've never had a winning record. So even though I do expect to have a winning record here at UMich football this year, do I think that we can go on and win the championship? I hope so, but if we look at it from a realist point of view, probably not. Our next game is against Texas, which is going to be a tough one. I hope we win, but well, we don't know. And Michigan Stadium is one of the biggest stadiums in the world. It houses 110,000 people, and that just really shows how big of a sporting culture UMich has here. And even some of the intramural sports are like really huge here, like tennis. I could give an example. Like you need to have a UTR or tennis rating of 8 to even be considered as part of the intramural tennis like team. And no, sorry, that I think that was club tennis actually. That's not intramurals. That's club tennis. And AUTR is basically like you have to be like one of the top three singles or one doubles at your high school like varsity team. And that's like very, very difficult. So even for a team like my high school, which was third in state, last year we have like five or so players that are above that limit. And that's not that much, like when you consider about it. So see here that club sports here are also very competitive. And also intramural sports based off of that are also like very competitive. And just in general, the sporting culture at Michigan is pretty huge. Like even at the football games, we celebrate some of our Big Ten victories over the last year, like the gymnast Paul Judah that competed in the US Olympics. He had a special like honoring ceremony at the football game. And there's also the girls tennis team that took Big Ten honors that won the Big Ten like league last year. And they also got like a ceremony. So like the sports culture here is pretty big. It's more revolved around football more than anything, but also I'm gonna give a quick shout out to our basketball and hockey teams because those teams are also pretty good and fun to watch, and we have to also pay to see those games as well. And also another word on football. Since so many people want tickets, they actually have two different ticket plans, and that's also a very luck of the draw based like ticket plan what you get. So if you sign up to get a full season ticket, since there's so much demand, there's a chance that you're only going to get a 4 game ticket pack, which they select 4 games randomly in the season, and they just like give it to you. So hopefully you get lucky, get the season ticket, you get all the games, and get like good stuff out of that. But if you get a 4 game ticket pack, what people do is they go onto Snapchat or other like platforms and they like, oh, I want to buy this ticket for a certain amount of money. And then there's sellers that say like, oh, I don't want to go to this football game. Maybe I'm busy. I have a club activity or something like that. I'm gonna sell this football ticket. So like a lot of this like buy sell ticket culture like at UMich is pretty big because like football is like really nicely watched here. The demand for tickets is always high, but you can't fill all this. There's too many people sign up for seats in the student section, And for that reason, they have to allocate like different like ticket packs to people. And I just feel bad for any of my friends who have a 4 game ticket pack because I know there's a lot of them. But I got lucky, I got the season ticket, and I know for sure a lot of people also feel lucky that they got a season ticket. They'll get to see all of the football games. I'm just really looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm again, I'm jealous on how that sounds. I mean, I definitely will be going to some of the Columbia football games, but as I don't think we'll be winning that much.
Just a
No,
question,
but
Jackie. What's your football team's like biggest rivalry? I'm just interested in knowing if you have one.
guys, I don't think we're good enough to have rivalries, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, I
Like
totally forgot to
it's
mention that in UMich, like we have a big rivalry with Ohio State, so we have a certain chance against Ohio State that we say every game that I'm not allowed to say here because obvious reasons, but also we have a pretty big rivalry with our in-state rival Michigan State, so those games are obviously going to be sellouts. Unfortunately, the Ohio State game is away from home, so and my friends at Ohio State want me to come so they can because they want to see us get destroyed, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But anyway, like the rivalry culture here at UMich is also pretty huge.
Yeah, I will say that like even though our football isn't like maybe the best, we have a really good fencing team. Also, I feel obligated to say because my roommate's on squash, obviously great squash, um, but I think fencing is actually really good. And then obviously women's basketball. Um, okay, and then now some like more I guess like fun stuff related to sports. So what's the Greek life scene at your school? And then will you personally be rushing? And then like I know for Columbia for guys, like for frats, like you guys start rushing now. And then sororities are in second semester. But what about you guys?
Yeah, so surprisingly, the Greek life scene uh, at Berkeley is super big, um, and well, I would say it's a good balance between professional fraternities and social fraternities. There's quite a few on campus, and it's pretty likely you'll see someone in Greek life if you just talk to someone. And I know a couple of my friends who are going to be rushing this semester. Um, and sorority is also pretty big here too. But me personally, I'm not going to rush this semester. I'll consider rushing next semester for maybe a profession like a pre-health or pre-med not sorry fraternity. um, I'll consider doing that next semester. But Greek welcome week, orientation week, the frats held a ton of parties, but quite a few of them got shut down for unknown reasons. But it's I think it's super big on campus, and they do I think they keep up the Berkeley's, like Berkeley's surprisingly very play hard, right? And I think the frats play a very big part in that. Yeah.
Yeah, rather unsurprisingly, at UMich, the frat and the Greek life culture is pretty big. I'd say the balance between social and professional fraternities definitely lean more social, and definitely a lot of the social frats, one that we call as Pike, and Fiji. Those are just like two examples that are huge at UMich. But those two hosted like big parties almost like every day, and then also there were a lot of different frats, more social frats around that hosted like giant parties, and during welcome week, and I went to one every 2 days because I can't go to one every one day because I think it's tiring, but they're pretty fun. For me, they're actually a good way to meet some new people as well. And I think the Greek life culture here is pretty big. I know a lot of people are rushing. I'm still considering because like initially I came in to Mitch, right? And I moved in and I'm like, I'm not rushing. That doesn't seem like a me thing. But after going to these parties, I'm like, maybe I should give it a shot. So I'm still like considering right now. I'm still like a 50-50. So we'll see. I think I've seen more of the professional frats at like the meet the clubs or like what we call festival. So definitely looking more into those two. I'm like thinking about maybe like a more like business oriented one. And something they don't really tell you about frats, even the social ones, like professional ones, that they have really, really good connections. So I was talking to some of the brothers at an Asian frat called Pineapple the other day, and even though they were more of a social frat, like there were people there that got like big internships at like Meta and Google that are a part of that frat, and they were giving each some of the members that are interested in similar jobs, they were giving referrals. And even at bigger frats like and more social ones like Pike and like Fiji, there are people that end up going to Morgan Stanley from there. And those are obviously like really big companies. So just like something to keep in mind that like frats are huge for connections, not just the professional ones, but also the social ones. Because like if they see the name of a frat on your like LinkedIn or just like a resume and they see you got a big role in there, or if you're just a member, then you know some people it'll get you to places. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely interested in rushing sorority com time in the spring, or not spring, it's like January. Um, but yeah, I mean, it just sounds so great, like the social aspects of it and being able to like meet so many new people. Um, and then also like as you guys are talking like the networking aspects, but I think I'm just excited to like go through that process. And then I think like another benefit going to Columbia is that like our Greek life scene isn't like crazy. So like even if you don't rush, it's like not going to really be that big of a deal. And then also, I think that like because we're not like a big state school, like we're not like Alabama rush culture is insane, like Bama rush, crazy. Um, or like and, you know, like even like your schools, like I feel like it's not like that big of a deal. So I think our rush process is like a little bit more relaxed. Maybe still stressful, but like definitely like less pressure than the big state schools. So I'm very excited to go and have that. And then of course, like you guys said, we also have the parties. Um, okay, and so how do you guys feel about the food at your school and what's your dining plan?
Yeah, so since I don't live in the dorms, I don't have a meal plan. But I have
Oh,
tried
wait, what is that?
I've tried my good share of dining hall food, and I would say like, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. But considering the time I spent walking to the dining hall, I would you know, and the money is spent on getting into the dining hall. I had some other thoughts about the food, but it's not as bad as I thought. But the good dining halls are further away from campus. Like the campus ones that are closer to the dining halls that are closer to campus, you pay more and the food is worse compared if you go out of the campus. But like even if you don't go to dining hall, like the surrounding restaurants at Berkeley are like really good. And some people just like I know like a lot of my friends they don't even go to dining halls anymore. They just spend money on eating out on restaurants, which I don't think now I don't know about financially long term how well that would pay out. But the food scene at Berkeley is like really good. It's just the dining halls are just if you have the comparison between outside food and dining hall food, you're definitely gonna choose outside food. I think it will be the same with Jackie, which is like big New York City, big city. There's gonna be a lot of good food around. And so I think because of that comparison, it's really hard to get yourself into a dining hall. But maybe with like Jack, it's a little bit different story.
No, actually, it's a very similar story to Ivan that you miss. I personally like think the dining hall food. I thought it would be a lot worse, but it's actually not that bad. Even at like some of the worst dining halls or even some of the worst like residence halls, like the Markley area, like that, their dining hall is actually pretty good. So I'd recommend trying it out. But like out of all the dining halls that I've been to, I don't think any of them were like bad. Um, but like I guess one complaint I have about East Quad's dining hall is that at their pizza place, their plates are like super hot, and I don't know why, but like they gotta fix that. But overall, generally, I think the dining hall food is like it's workable. It's not disgusting in any way. It's not like moldy or anything. Like they give you decent enough food to like fulfill you, but like also like if you do eat out, you'll just like realize, oh, the food out of campus is just like so much better. So Let's put it that way. I've eaten out over the past 4 days, which isn't very ideal financially in the long term. Um, but also at West Quad, we have something called the Michigan Union, which inside that has a bunch of restaurants, including like a Qdoba, a Panda Express, and a Panera Bread. So if you get lucky and you're around like the West Quad area or any other like quad that connects to a building that has other dining options, then definitely I see people going to those a lot as well. So I think and for us at least for meal plan wise, since I do live in a residence hall, I live in West Quad. You get unlimited swipes, but you do have to pay like a lot of money before that to get your to get your meal plan. So maybe eating out maybe really isn't the financially the best option. But again, like the food outside is just that much better than the food inside the dining halls.
Yeah, Ivan was totally right about that. Being in New York, there's just like so many enticing options and just like, oh, let's go out and like get dinner and like also like when you're catching up with friends. So like when I was catching up with some of my upperclassmen friends, like we always just like went out because no one really wants to have like a one-on-one chat when you're in like, the dining hall. It just doesn't really work as well. So like having the city there is really such like an enticing aspect of it. And then like of course since it's New York, there's so many like different options that we have. Like around campus, it's not like that many, but like I would say there's a good selection. It might be pricier, but like I feel like if you know like where to look and like just like talk to some upperclassmen, you get like all the like most popular spots and like you know you just get all the insight. And then once you like take the subway and like go downtown a little bit, like midtown area, you have like so many more options. And so yeah, like I'm super excited to like go and try. Like one of my upperclassmen friends, she's a senior now, and she's like she makes it like a mission to not really try to like repeat restaurants unless it's like a staple in her collection. So you know, it just goes to show you like 4 years here, and she's still like, oh, new restaurant, new restaurant, new restaurant. So you know, I'm super excited to like try that out for myself and just like see how that goes. Okay, so that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in to the Teams for Business podcast, and we'll see you next time.